Hey, what's up? We've got some major updates today regarding the Flamethrower. The developers have officially reverted the changes. The visual effects are back, maintaining the same damage output as previously. Also, the community manager has confirmed that Warbonds won't be released this month, and he touched on the topics of pre-order armors too. We have a lot to unpack, so if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to tap the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The Flamethrowers, as I just mentioned, has been reverted to its original state before the Escalation of Freedom update. This was confirmed on the Helldivers 2 official Discord, where the developers made this announcement and included a video which we'll discuss shortly. Here's what Baskinator wrote. A buff a day keeps the bugs away. We're excited to share more details about upcoming update, which will include significant changes aimed at improving your experience in Helldivers 2. From now on, every day we will shed more and more light on the September 17th update. Buff number 1, Flamethrowers. We've heard you loud and clear, and flamethrower damage is increased by 33%. Flamer mechanics will be reverted to the state before the Escalation of Freedom update, and flame-based weapons can now damage heavier enemies like chargers, Biletines, impalers, and hulks. The next update is so close, and the way they're revealing these buffs or changes daily feels like opening up an advent calendar for Christmas, doesn't it? We're going to receive news about the changes each day leading up to the 17th, which of course is the patch release date, so expect more news tomorrow about what else they have planned. Now, we do have a developer update video which I'll showcase now, and then you'll catch me here in a few.
My name is Pilestedt.
And I'm Niklas Manborg.
Today we're diving into the patch notes of Helldivers 2. We've done some major adjustment to all the flame weapons.
Yeah, we just went back.
I thought we couldn't revert it.
Life finds a way. There was some stuff to go through, but it was the right thing to do.
And the flame weapons has also gotten an armor penetration increase.
Yeah. Do you want to flame a charger? Go ahead.
This means that I can have flame offs with the hogs.
Yeah, it does.
You could say that it would be a cooking showdown.
This is definitely a step in the right direction because currently flamethrowers aren't effective against hulks or chargers, and they weren't great against Biletines either. But now it looks like this weapon could become quite useful against Titans, which would be incredible. I plan on testing this out and will show a comparison before and after the patch, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that video. With these changes, could the game become too easy, essentially removing its challenges? No, that doesn't seem to be the case. The community manager, Twinbeard, informed a player that this isn't their plan, and it will actually be easier for them to adjust the game's difficulty from now on. Right here, Twinbeard wrote, "Who says we're removing the challenge? Also, if the game goes from too much kiting and guns not feeling viable for a lot of players, to the game becoming too easy for some, but more fun for most, it's way easier to buff difficulty going forward, so long term it should hopefully be a win regardless." Well, it's reassuring to know that they're not planning to strip away the game challenges. Here's the thing, the community manager has talked about this before, and he makes a valid point. It'll be more straightforward for Arrowhead to ramp up the game's difficulty if necessary as we move forward, rather than dialing it back when it's already tough on players. This approach, to me, makes a lot of sense because if a weapon turns out to be way too overpowered, they can tweak it. The same goes for enemies. Now the boss, Mr. Pilestedt, decided to hop into the Helldivers 2 Discord to respond to some players about why this change has taken so long. To put it simply, he essentially said this update is much larger now. The full response can be seen here, where he posted and said, "Hey, I see a lot of people commenting on it, taking long to do numbers, changes, etc. While it is true in isolation, the update that we are launching now is much larger, holistic take to realign the gameplay. The reason why so many of you found excitement in some tools such as the Flamethrower, Railgun, Eruptor, etc., we realized is because they could deal with heavily armored enemies much more effectively than they were supposed to according to how the weapons were portrayed. Therefore, the changes we needed to make were a bit larger than just getting the Flamethrower back to where it was, but also getting other weapons up to the level that where you and I feel they all should have been from the start. The game experience of this update will be much more substantial in how you play. More tools will be varying degrees of effective, and specialized tools will work much better against their intended targets. Basically, the game will feel less frustrating if you don't have the specialized tools. With this response right here, I'm excited for the next update because initially some of us thought it would be a smaller patch, but it turns out to be quite the opposite. I know there was talks about releasing a hotfix at one point to revert those flamethrower changes, but it seems over time They've made so many changes to how the game functions that now the patch appears to be much larger than originally intended. Also, if you recall a few minutes ago, the developers mentioned that the flamethrower would be effective against the Biletines, but didn't elaborate on how useful it would be. Apparently, Pilestedt explained that the Biletines can be taken down if you have a full squad equipped with flamethrowers. The post can be seen here where he stated, "In testing, players used a larger variety of weapons and didn't feel penalized. There is still a potential to excel by using the right tools, like Spear and RL against BT. But you could, in theory, defeat BTs with a 4-stack of flamethrower madmen." This is actually incredible, so if you want to, you can definitely team up with 4 Helldivers and just start torturing a Biletine. I'm interested in seeing how this works and how long it takes to defeat 1 Biletine with 4 flamethrowers. In fact, I want to find out how long it takes for 1 Helldiver to defeat 1 Biletine with just using a flamethrower. So I will definitely have to try that out and see how effective it is once this patch is released, and I'm excited to just test out all of this. I will say that all of these changes seem great, but like many of you, I've been wondering how these will affect the difficulty of CR10. Will it become easier, which might not be too appealing, right? Or will it remain just as challenging as it is right now? The CCO, Mr. Pilestedt, responded with, "It's hard to answer. I still find it very challenging, but I know how good some of you are. We wanted to get the feeling right before we started ensuring that CR10 is challenging enough for the madmen in this community." So really, there's no word if it's going to be just as challenging as it is now, or if it's going to be any easier, because really that depends on your skill level. Really, that's truly the answer. Next up, another player asked a great question, curious if the chargers would remain unchanged. Will we possibly see the same number of chargers as we do now? The answer to this is yes, they're essentially going to remain the same. The reason I say this is because the CCO mentioned it would be more or less unchanged. The post can be seen here where he says, "Yes, but we have kept the enemy amounts more or less the same. After we see the feedback on this patch, we will look into how to bring it home." Personally, I currently don't have an issue with the existing spawn system for the chargers, except for the fact we need more ways to take them out, which of course is going to happen since, you know, they did mention in the past and even recently that the flamethrower will be effective against them, along with the AMR, recoilless rifle, and so on. On a completely different note, if you're experiencing any bugs or issues in the game, specifically with stability, connectivity, or bugs in general, anything along those lines, Arrowhead has set up a live support team to address all these problems. He confirmed this in a post where he said, "We have created a live support QOL team in the studio that will look at these kind of things. They will focus on getting stability, connectivity, and general bugs resolved quickly." This is a massive improvement for Arrowhead because they can essentially tackle major issues or even the smaller ones fairly quickly without needing to, divert another team's attention. They now have their own dedicated group within the studio specifically for addressing these problems. Now, in terms of quality of life updates, there's a user who asked, can we potentially see the supply marker on the map? Because when you throw down a supply, it doesn't really indicate where it is on the map. You just kind of have to find it. So with that being said, Mr. Pilestedt responded with simply, yeah, it's in the works, as you can see right here. So there is a good chance we'll see that at some point. Will it be in this next update? Probably not. But at some point, you should expect that. Now, with all that said, this is all that Pilestedt could reveal because in the Discord, he mentioned that there's not too much he can spoil as of right now, and we'll just have to wait for the next patch. To be honest, I'm trying not to get as excited about this update as I was last time because in the past, we were all told that the Escalation of Freedom update would be the largest patch yet with lots of improvements. But it ended up being quite a disappointing patch that left a bad taste in the community's mouth. So I'd say it's best to keep expectations low until we actually see how the game performs and how effectively these weapons have been buffed. Moving on, Twinbeard has also confirmed that the Warbond won't be arriving this month. I recently mentioned in another video that Twinbeard confirmed the Warbond is still on its way, leading to some assume that it might be this month. But that's not the case. I didn't expect it either because they're obviously in the midst of developing the 60-day plan patch. Anyway, here's what the community manager wrote. "I never said there would be a Warbond this month. I said it wasn't delayed. We have no set time interval between Warbonds now, at least not if I recall correctly, or something else happened over the summer that I missed." There we have it. It's clear that the Warbond won't be arriving this month, but that doesn't mean it's not coming at all. They haven't delayed the Warbond entirely, which indicates they're still working on it with plans for release at some point. However, with that being said, this doesn't imply it'll be this month. If I had to guess, I'd suspect we might see it next month, but of course, that's just a guess. And hopefully this clears up any confusion that you might have had. And if you have any questions about this video, make sure to post them down below and I'll keep an eye out for them. Now that we've covered the Warbond, what about pre-ordered armors? Does Arrowhead have plans to release it for purchase at some point, or will the pre-ordered armors remain exclusive? This is a great question I was curious about too. There's a player here who asked the community manager this very question, and here's what he wrote back. Last I heard, that was TBD, to be decided. It might be available one day, but it's a fine line between it being exclusive items being paid for in pre-orders and having it available for everyone, and a time issue as well. Not ruling it out long term. What are your thoughts on Arrowhead potentially re-releasing the pre-ordered armors, or do you believe they should stay exclusive? I've touched on this in another video, but my stance has shifted recently. Initially, I felt they should remain exclusive to reward those who pre-ordered and, showed faith in the game early. Nonetheless, I think making them available to everyone might not be a bad idea. The issue is, I suspect some pre-ordered customers might feel, a little bit let down, having believed these armors would stay unique to them. But, I'm not sure how Arrowhead could navigate this without upsetting some fans, but personally, I think it could be a positive move. Let me know how you feel about this by posting a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Moving on, we've got an update on the galactic war map situation. As many of you know, some major orders are really tough to complete, largely due to how low the player base is. There aren't as many players online due to various reasons, and another issue is that a significant number of players are on the Terminid planets. So, should Arrowhead make the Automaton major orders easier? A member on the Discord was curious about this, and here's what the community manager responded with. This is something we're monitoring and might make changes to long term. We, however, don't want to make rash decisions about things in the Galactic War since it might have bigger repercussions. Ideally, we want the whole war and galaxy to feel as one. If it's a continuous problem with skewed player count or such, we will likely adjust MOs and or make it more exciting in other ways. We're def aware of this being a challenge. Thanks. There's a good chance that the GM Joel might change the way major orders work if they need to, but with the new patch coming soon, more players might come back, and the new weapon updates should make these, these major orders easier too, or at least more manageable. And last but not least, Twinbeer replied to another player that their goal is to make the game fun for a large percentage of the player base, and to also make it fun for the community and their friends. His post can be seen here. He wrote, I think the one thing that trumps all at the moment is that we want to make the game more fun for a larger percentage of the player base. That's number one. It has to be. Having fun with your friends is what the game is all about. Adding to that, dynamics, variety, excitement, challenges, performance, and stability, and so on and so on. But above all, Helldivers 2 has to be more of that over-the-top, bombastic, hex yeah, co-op action game than it has for some of late. We hope and think these initial changes will make the game more fun for a larger base of players, old and new. After that, we'll evaluate and continue to polish. All of this sounds good to me, and to be honest, at first it sounded like the developers or Arrowhead in general had their heads cut off, like they were just some wild chicken and they just were flopping around and not knowing what to do. So now it seems like they actually have their heads screwed on this time, and they're actually figuring out what to do properly, considering they've made improvements to the studio by adding the live support team, by making all these additional changes to the buffs, and they're eventually going to add some more customizations. They're also trying to add the supply marker to the map so that you know where the supplies are, which is awesome to see. So yeah, it seems like they're doing a lot here, and I'm excited to see how this next patch turns out. But at the same time, I'm trying not to be excited because we know how the last few patches have been. So with all the information shared in this video, this is your Helldivers 2 news update video, and I'd love to hear your opinions on today's news. We're now going to review the top 3 comments. If you'd like to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below. The first comment is by Lucius. For better or worse state the game is now, I think they deserve the award. Let's all be honest here. We bought the game, we binged it, raved to everyone about it, and we're all watching these videos because we care about it. The second comment is by Polished Guy 54. Helldivers 2 development be like 1. Happy community noises. 2. It's so over. Nerfs. 3. We are so back. Buffs. 4. Repeat 2 and 3 endlessly. You're not wrong there. It kind of feels that way, or it really is that way. Anyways, we have the last and final comment by this user right here, which his name is, or her name is, Marsquito Jr. I love being hopeful for Helldivers. There's your top 3 comments. If you guys would like to be featured, remember, all you have to do is comment down below. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me how you feel about this video or anything we've talked about. Thank you guys so much for watching the videos as usual. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.